Chapter 19, page 81. It was going to be Okonkwo's last harvest in Mabanta. The 7 wasted and weary years were at last dragging to a close. Although he had prospered in his motherland, Okonkwo knew he would have prospered more in Umuofia and the land of his fathers. His mother's kin had been very kind to him, and he was grateful. He had called his first child born in exile, Neneka, Mother is Supreme, out of politeness to his mother's kinsmen. However, 2 years later, when a son was born, he called him Nuofia, born in the wilderness. And as soon as he entered his last year in exile, Okonkwo sent money to Obierica to build him 2 huts where he and his family would live. He could not ask another man to build his hut. Those things a man built for himself. And as the last heavy rains of the year began to fall, Obierica sent word that the huts had been built. Okonkwo waited impatiently for the dry season to come. Finally, the rain became lighter and lighter. Okonkwo called his 3 wives and told them to get things together for a great feast. I must thank my mother's kinsmen before I go, he said. Ekwefi would provide cassava. Nyowe's mother in Ujuji would provide the smoked fish, palm oil, and pepper. Okonkwo would bring meat and yams. Okonkwo was thorough in everything he did. When his wife Ekwefi protested that 2 goats were sufficient for the feast, he told her that it was not her affair. I am calling a feast because my mother's people have been good to me. I must show my gratitude. 3 goats and a number of fowls were slaughtered. It was like a wedding feast. All the kinsmen were invited to the feast. The oldest member of the family was Okonkwo's uncle, Uchendu. The kola nut was given to him to break, and he prayed to the ancestors. He asked them for health and children. We do not ask for wealth, because he who has health and children will also have wealth. He prayed especially for Okonkwo and his family. And as the broken kola nuts were passed around, Okonkwo's wives and children began to bring up the food. There was so much food and drink that many kinsmen whistled in surprise. When all was laid out, Okonkwo rose to speak. I beg you to accept this little kola, he said. It is not to pay you back for all you did for me in these 7 years. A child cannot pay for its mother's milk. I have only called you together because it is good for kinsmen to meet. Yam stew was served first, then fufu and melon seed soup and bitter leaf soup. The meat was shared so that everyone had a portion. And as the wine was drunk, one of the kinsmen rose to thank Okonkwo. If I say that we did not expect such a big feast, it would be suggesting that we did not know how open-handed our son Okonkwo is. We all know him, and we expected a big feast, but it turned out even bigger than we expected. Thank you. May all you took out return tenfold. A man who calls his kinsmen to a feast does not do so to save them from starving. We come together today because it is good for kinsmen to do so. You may ask why I'm saying this. I say it because I fear for the younger generation, for you people. I have only a short time to live, but I fear for you young people because you do not understand how strong the bond of kinship is. You do not know how to speak with one voice. And what is the result? An evil religion has settled among you. A man can now leave his father and brothers. He can curse the gods of his fathers and his ancestors like a hunter's dog that suddenly turns on his master. I fear for you. I fear for the clan. He turned again to Okonkwo and said, Thank you for calling us together.